Good morning, everybody. I want to welcome everyone to Donaldson and the interns from the Southern Center for Human Rights. And I know all the men here, and welcome you too. We're going to discuss the book Just Mercy. And I've asked Diode if he would be the facilitator. So I'm going to pull Diode up. Take over. Thanks.
My name is Daoud Omar Boone. I put a picture up there that I wanted y'all to check out so I just wouldn't be someone faceless, because I'm the son of those two amazing male and female right there. That's my mother and father, so I'm a son. I'm also a brother. Those three are my older sisters. That right there was me when I was little. You know what I'm saying? I didn't look like this and in the brown. I had a different uniform on. Also, these two adorable little children's uncles. Also, all of those little women that's in that little picture, those are my cousins. I got a whole bunch of just female cousins that are smaller than me, that I love to death. I'm also a military veteran. I served 4 years active duty in the Navy overseas. Today, I had the pleasure of facilitating restorative justice, as Pat said, and I wanted to let you know that I'm more than anything that I could be accused of. I'm more than my worst mistake, my worst decision. More than a lot of things today, I'm the facilitator. On behalf of the class 2, we're extremely happy and we feel blessed to have you interns in. And I don't know any of your names. I know you probably discussed your names with the people at the table, but if you wouldn't mind, I would love if you would just stand, introduce yourself, and tell everybody what you expect to get out of today's class.
Hi everybody, my name is Ariel Hudson. I'm I'm about to be a second-year law student at Yale Law School. I'm from Tunica, Mississippi, and I'm just hoping to learn a little bit more about you all's experiences. I think it's very different being in class versus always listening to people's stories.
Hi everyone, my name is Mel Ellis-Gidger. I'm from Columbus, Ohio originally, and I'm a senior in college, graduating actually next semester at Yale University. And I'm just really excited today just to hear again so much what Ariel said, everyone's stories, their experiences, and really just meeting new people. I like learning about others and getting to meet people from different walks of life.
Hi everyone, my name is Lucy Chin. I'm from Maryland. Excited, I'm going to be a third-year law student next year at the University of Minnesota. And I, like everyone else, I'm just really eager to build some connections and, learn some insights from the folks that I'm chatting here with today that I hope can inform my future career. Thank you all.
Hi everyone, my name is Dominique Kearney. I am an incoming 3L at Yale also. I'm from Gainesville, Florida originally. And yeah, in addition to getting to meet all of you, I know that I will walk away from this with a different, richer perspective on the stories in Mr. Stevenson's book, and so I'm looking forward to that.
Hi, I'm Maya Chowdhury, and I've gotten to meet, I think, almost all of you, or all of you, and I'm an attorney at the Southern Center for Human Rights. I'm really excited to be back here today, and I'm hoping to get out of today even just more of the really genuine and incredible reflections that we had last time, and to build on all that, and just to hear more about the journeys that you all have had with restorative justice.
I know that some of the material that we're going to go on and some of the conversations that we're going to go through, they are designed purposefully to maybe make us feel uncomfortable. Some of the activities may feel inconvenient, but one thing that Bryan Stephens is big on, in my opinion, that I've done from studying and hearing his talks, is he's big on the discomfort, and what is inconvenient is the only thing that's going to bring about change. And so, since I know that we're going into some uncomfortable topics, I like to start with a grounding exercise, which just reminds us to remain present in the moment, and you can go back to grounding at any time. But if you don't mind, I would love for everyone to, if they feel safe, stand to their feet. There's also those sleep up in here. Sometimes I can bore y'all. I hope I don't sound like a clear-eyed, dry-eyed commercial guy. But We're gonna go through a quick grounding exercise. I know some people may or may not be familiar with grounding, but it's meant to, like I said, bring you to the present moment. So we're gonna take 3 deep breaths. We're gonna do an inhale. Fill your lungs all the way, all the way, all the way up. Hold it. A little more. Hold it. And exhale slowly. One more time. We fill the lungs all the way up. Inhale through the nose. Hold it. And exhale out through your mouth slowly. One more time. Inhale through the nose. Hold it. Exhale through your mouth. So when you get grounded in your bag, first you breathe. That's the first exercise that we did. And then A, because it's an acronym, is for affirmation. So right now, I love to do an affirmation. So if you repeat after me and say, I am loved, I am loved. I am worthy, I am worthy. I am not the worst thing I have ever done. I am not the worst thing I have ever done. Now, this one thing that it's an affirmation that I got from prison fellowship. So you get something, and the best way to keep it is what's taught in the treatment community is to give it away. And so what I want you to do is look at around the room, or keep in your mind the people that are around the room, and I want to repeat this affirmation, which is, I see you, I hear you, I value you. Y'all got that? I see you, I hear you, I value you. And that's for everybody in the room. Usually when we do these restorative justice classes or groups, we're usually in a circle. And the circle is meant to show that we're all on equal terms and we should all be respected and valued and heard, and all of us have a voice. It's to give a voice to the voiceless. I want you to think of the best affirmation you have to give to someone else, or the best scripture that you have to give someone else, or the best quote or advice that you have to give someone else in one sentence. And I want you to write that down. Take that paper, fold it just one time. If it's a small paper, you can still fold it one time. And I want you to pass it to somebody at your table. If you have it, everyone have a different one? I want you to read it. Read it. You don't have to read it out loud. I want you to read it, receive it, and tell the person that gave it to you, thank you. Thank you. Okay. Everybody thankful? Everybody thank somebody? Now, what I want you to do now is to take that one that you have and give it to somebody at another table. Don't forget to thank the person that you give to, because I know you're going back to your seats. So thank you, exchange and thank you.
Same one. You already got one. Well, I'm giving one away. I gotta give one away.
This is an example of what we call in the prison community as each one teach one. Anything that you get, any lesson that you get, you should pass it on. And you keep it more by giving whatever away. And it's not just relevant in the prison community, it's important that we do it in all communities, because one thing about the restorative idea is that the prison community is not separate from the free world community. Although we've been looked at and we learned these ideas to separate us from the free world community, what we call the free world, it's a social construct of an idea. And it's one of the reasons why I believe that the justice system is going in the manner that it's going. Like it's not working. It doesn't seem to work. Just a remembrance for any time. You can use this at any time you want to get grounded in your bag. You know what I'm saying? Breathe. Affirmation. The G is forgive. We just practice giving somebody something. It doesn't always have to be material. And we also practice gratitude. We told the person thank you. We were thankful for it. All right. Y'all been grounded in your bag. I appreciate y'all being thankful right now. Y'all just blessed me. The next thing that we're going to do, we're going to go into a video where Brian Stevens talks about the power of proximity. So I hope you pay attention. I hope you get something from that. Hope you enjoy it.
Please welcome Brian Stevenson. I spend a lot of time in jails and prisons. I spend a lot of time with people who live in the margins of our society. I spend a lot of time with the poor. And I'm persuaded that there is more we can do to create a healthier environment, a more just society. And I actually think that justice is good for everybody. I think that a healthier environment where no one feels excluded, no one feels ignored, no one feels disfavored is good for everyone. And I don't think we've made the kind of progress that we could make if we did some things differently. Because my work has been in the criminal justice system, I've seen some really tragic developments over the last half century. Many of us have been taught that if there's a bad part of town, oh, don't put your business there. Don't visit that part of town. Stay as far away from that segment of the community as possible. I am persuaded we need to do the opposite. We need to find ways to engage and invest and position ourselves in the places where there is despair. I actually think when we situate ourselves next to people who are excluded and marginalized and disfavored and left out, at a very minimum, we can find collective and institutional and meaningful ways to embrace these communities. And sometimes it is that witness that can be transformative. I started working with children who had been prosecuted as adults, and in proximity to these communities, I discovered some things that I couldn't discover absent proximity. I got involved in a case of a 14-year-old boy who lived in a household where his mother would sometimes be the target of domestic violence. This boy's mother had a boyfriend. And when that man would start drinking, he'd get violent. And one day the man had been drinking and he came home and he called the boy's mother into the kitchen. She walked into the kitchen and the man went up to her and he just punched her in the face. She fell down. She hit her head as she fell. She was on the floor bleeding and unconscious. Her son came running into the kitchen to help his mom. He tried to revive her. He tried to stop the bleeding. But after 10 minutes, she was still non-responsive and that little boy thought his mom was dead. The man went into a bedroom and he fell asleep. The little boy got up, he walked into the bedroom, he was going to call the police, he was going to call an ambulance, but then he remembered that this man kept a handgun in his dresser drawer. So he walked over to the drawer, he pulled out the gun, he walked over to where the man was sleeping, he pointed the gun at the man's head. The man was snoring, and when the man stopped snoring and jumped, the little boy jumped, and when the little boy jumped, he pulled the trigger and shot the man in the head, killing him instantly. It was very tragic. This little boy was very small for his age, he was under 5 feet tall, he weighed less than 100 pounds. He'd never been in trouble before. He was the kind of kid that might have been tried as a juvenile, but for the fact that the man that he shot and killed, his mother's boyfriend, well, that man was a deputy sheriff. And because he was a deputy sheriff, the prosecutor insisted that this child be tried as an adult. And the judge certified him to stand trial as an adult, and they immediately placed him in the adult jail. He'd been there 3 days before I got involved in the case, and I went to the jail to see this little boy. And when he walked in, I was stunned by how terrified he looked. He sat down and I began asking him questions, but no matter what I asked him, he wouldn't say anything. He just sat there. I finally put my pen down and I said, look, I can't help you if you don't talk to me. You got to talk to me. The little boy wouldn't say anything. He just continued sitting there. He was staring at the wall, not saying a word. I got up and I moved my chair close to him and I just tried to get him to talk. I said, come on, you got to talk to me. And he wouldn't say anything. I couldn't figure out what to do. And at some point, I just leaned on him. I don't even know why, but I leaned on him, and when I leaned on him, he leaned back. And when he leaned back, I put my arm around him, and I said, come on, you got to talk to me. I can't help you if you don't talk to me. And that's when this little boy started to cry. And through his tears, he began talking to me, not about what happened with the man, not about what happened with his mom, but he started talking to me about what had happened at the jail. He told me on the first night, several men had hurt him. He told me on the next night, he'd been sexually assaulted by several people. He told me on the night before I'd gotten there, so many people had hurt him, he couldn't remember how many there had been. And I held this little boy while he cried hysterically for almost an hour. I finally got him calm. I said, look, I'm going to get you out of here. You stay right here. And I will never forget trying to leave that jail. And that little boy grabbed me by the arm and he said, please, please don't go. Please don't go. I said, no, it's okay. It's all right. I'm going to get you out of here. And when I left the jail, the question I had in my mind is, who is responsible for this? And the answer is, we are. We've allowed this distance to be created from some of the most vulnerable people in our society. On any given day in this country, there are 10,000 children being housed in adult jails and prisons where they're at great risk. We've allowed narratives to emerge that separate us from some of these children. And I believe proximity is the solution because you, in that space, would react just like I did. I'm the product of someone's choice to get proximate. I don't talk about proximity just from an intellectual perspective. I grew up in a community where black children could not go to the public schools. When I was a little boy, I had to go to the colored school. They didn't let black kids go to the public schools. When my dad was a teenager, there were no high schools for black children in our county. And then lawyers came into the community and made them open up the public schools. They enforced Brown versus Board of Education. Because those lawyers chose to get proximate to poor black kids like me, I got to go to high school. I have no illusions about the fact that I would not be standing here if those lawyers hadn't gotten proximate to poor black kids like me. But because they did, I got to go to high school. I got to go to college. Nobody in my family had gone to college. When I got to college, it was like entering this world I didn't know existed. I loved college. I got proximate. I started working with lawyers that represented people on death row. I started working with children who had been prosecuted as adults. And in proximity to these communities, I discovered some things that I couldn't discover absent proximity. I think ultimately what we do to get proximate to those who are disfavored and excluded, what we do to change narratives, what we do to stay hopeful, what we do that is inconvenient and uncomfortable can sometimes be the most meaningful thing we do. It is how we honor what it means to have responsibility, to have opportunity, to have privilege. I believe really simple things. I believe that each of us is more than the worst thing we've ever done. And that's the reason why I represent the condemned, the incarcerated. I believe if someone tells a lie, they're not just a liar. If someone takes something, they're not just a thief. And that justice requires we know the other things they are. I am persuaded that the opposite of poverty is not wealth. Sometimes I think we talk too much about money. I am persuaded that the opposite of poverty isn't wealth. I believe the opposite of poverty is justice. And when we do justice, we deconstruct the conditions that give rise to poverty. I actually think we're going to be judged not by how we treat the wealthy and the privileged. I think we're going to be judged by how we treat the poor, the excluded, and the neglected. And in that context, there's something meaningful and rich waiting for us.
How y'all feel about that video? Usually in our restorative justice groups, we always start the group off with a quote. Would anybody mind being my volunteer, standing up and saying a quote?
When we're so far away from the crime that the person becomes anonymous, it's so easy to pass judgment. But when we know their name, their face, their history, the joy they brought to our lives, then it becomes much more complicated.
Does that make sense? Everybody can feel that? We've been going over the book, Just Mercy. And this is a quick summary. It's basically a memoir. In my mind, it's a call to action.
The book is a memoir about Stevenson's career as a lawyer and his work for poor clients, largely focusing on his efforts to overturn the wrongful conviction of Walter McMillian for the murder of Rhonda Morrison.
Stevenson began working on the case in the 1980s while McMillian was on death row.
The case is revisited throughout the book and serves as a primary narrative.
The chapters of the book alternate between visiting various aspects of the McMillian case over time, in the odd chapters, and Stevenson's work on other cases in even chapters.
Stevenson's documents his work for other marginalized clients, including efforts to overturn and ban mandatory life sentences without parole given to defendants convicted of crimes committed as juveniles.
The memoir also describes cases of abuse of power by police, judges, and prosecutors in the criminal justice system.
Stevenson also reflects on his time spent with prisoners awaiting their execution. This makes him realize how inhumane it is to prepare another human to die.
After decades of work, when Stevenson fails to prevent the execution of a man who suffers from an intellectual disability, he momentarily feels unable to continue his work.
However, he realizes that he cannot help but be broken by his experiences and comes to understand that it is his own brokenness that allows him to more fully understand the need for mercy and to bring compassion to others.
The book ends with Stevenson's renewed commitment to helping others.
I'm gonna go into another quick video.
Hi, I'm Jessie from Bow Ties and Books, and I'm here with Bryan Stevenson, the author of Just Mercy. I feel incredibly anxious and also a little bit undeserving of being in a space with Bryan Stevenson, but also wildly excited. And like you talk about your experience with the judge and wearing a suit, it doesn't matter what you're wearing.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, we have this idea in marginalized communities especially that wealth will insulate you and it will protect you, but it does not.
That's right.
Because that's not how perception works. If you have prejudice, it doesn't matter what the person is wearing.
Absolutely.
Prejudice is prejudice.
That's right. And I went to this court, and I had my suit and tie on, and I sat down at defense counsel's table. I got there early, and when the judge walked in and he saw me sitting there, he got angry, and he said, hey, you get back out there in the hallway. You wait until your lawyer gets here. I don't want any defendant sitting in my courtroom without their lawyer. And I had to stand up and apologize. And I said to the judge, I said, oh, I'm sorry, Your Honor, I didn't introduce myself. My name is Brian Stevenson. I am the lawyer. Because I didn't want to disadvantage my client.
What you just said just brought up so much for me, especially on what it's like to be marginalized and to not have people accept all of the indignities that you suffer daily. Your book is so incredible.
Thank you.
I'm so frustrated because I can't fully articulate how much it impacted me. And I know that this is a book that's going to truly, truly change the way that so many people look at race relations in this country.
Thank you.
So Brian and I are going to do a lightning round of questions. Try not to give too much thought into them.
Okay.
Okay. Favorite place to read?
At home, in my living room, in a chair that has a nice little light.
Favorite place to write?
A little office that's next to my bedroom.
Black Lightning or Killmonger?
Killmonger.
I'm offended, but it's fine. What is your biggest pet peeve?
I really don't like it when people park in front of entrances when the parking lot is just like a few feet away. It just screams privilege and entitlement in a way that drives me crazy.
It's oddly specific.
Yes, I know.
Do you have a favorite dance move?
It would be my last dance move, which would be the bump, which may not even be familiar to you, but that's the best I could do on that one.
A bump. Okay.
It was popular in like the 70s, maybe.
I will be Googling this promptly.
You should.
The best book you've read this year?
A Little Life by Hanya Nakahara.
That is on my bookshelf. So now I know to prioritize it. Thank you.
Fantastic book.
What is the funniest movie that you've ever seen?
Car Wash? Maybe?
Okay, I'll take it. I don't mean to attack your sense of humor.
No. I say it because I went with my mom, and there was a scene where she just started laughing hysterically, and I think I laughed as much at her as I remember laughing at the movie. It may not be that funny a movie.
What is your worst habit?
Sweet tea. I'm straight up addicted. It's my most satisfying habit, but it's probably my worst habit, too.
Is having taste a bad habit? I don't know, I'm not convinced.
I'm not entirely convinced either.
So what do you do to relax?
I play the piano. I feel really fortunate to have come from a musical family.
I am the worst musician you'll ever know.
I doubt that.
Pretty bad. I bought a guitar when I was 12. Actually, I didn't buy it. I begged my family to get me this guitar for Christmas. And my guitar teacher actually told me, like, he was like, I can't teach you.
Oh, you just need a different teacher.
I still have the guitar.
Oh, I think guitar playing is still in your future.
The book hit me in such a personal way. It tells the absolute truth. A truth that has been silenced and covered up for so many years in this country. So many of the people in my family have stories that echo the stories that were shared in the book. It isn't this abstract book about these people that live down south. It is a direct connection to the people that have affected me and been in rooms with me in my life. Brian, it was an absolute honor to share space with you and to discuss Just Mercy. Both the book and the film are phenomenal. Check out the full episode of BookTube on YouTube Originals.
One of the things that I enjoy about that video is his interview when she just popped the questions at him. And one of the reasons is because what she said is it's not just an abstract book. But I look at that when we look at Brian Stevenson. This is not an abstract person. Sometimes we disassociate and think that this is a person that is like we heroize, but this is an ordinary person that felt like a change needed to happen and decided to do something. And each of us all have the same ability to, when we see something or identify with something that we think needs to be changed, to just change it a little bit at a time. One thing that we probably can all agree on, hopefully, is that the way that we do punishment and justice is not working. We have 5 main ideas of when it comes to criminal justice and punishment that's associated with punishment. And that's incapacitation, which means incapacitation just means we take you and place you in prison. we separate you from the community. You have deterrence, that's when they give a lot of time in hopes that it keeps other people from committing more crimes. You have retribution or retributive justice. And retributive justice is almost like a vengeance type mindset. And you have rehabilitation, which they say that this is what is supposed to happen when you're incarcerated. You're supposed to be rehabilitated. You know, this is actually a rehabilitative setting. Restorative justice or restoration, which is the last, which we believe in, is a rehabilitative factor. So what exactly is restorative justice? Can another volunteer, anybody out there, read what restorative justice is?
Rather than justice as punishment, restorative justice conceives a justice as repair to the harm caused by crime and conflict. Understanding and responding to the needs of each involved party in border community is central to the collective creation of a just outcome.
So basically, we're healing with fulfilling the need with restorative justice. Now, we're about to go into a group setting and discussion. What I want us to consider in the groups is, I want you to name a time where you felt powerless and needed help. This is what I want you to discuss among yourself, among your individual tables. Name how you believe, this is the discussion, how you believe that you can be the help that you needed for someone else. I want you to say how others can help you currently in your ideas of what you feel needs to be changed. And then over here, it's kind of why I was on mathematics case. Usually when we think something should be done or when we get something on our heart that needs to change, we look at it from the outside. We say, hey, they should do this. They need to fix this. They need to go ahead and get up, but we never say what we will do to be the change that we are actively seeking. And that's part of what I think is the problem or why nothing gets done a lot of times. Usually if something is put on your heart, then that torch is for you to carry, or for you to actively go out and at least aid and assist in that torch being carried. If you could change or address one law or issue in the judicial system or prison system, what would it be? And also, what change are you willing to make? Right now, we're gonna have 5 minutes discussion time among ourselves at the individual tables. And what I would like to do is for us to pick a representative in Brown and also for an intern to come up, and we're gonna go to the booth. You know what I'm saying? That's the booth over there. We're gonna go to the booth, one intern, one of the representatives from the table, and you're gonna give back the feedback on the discussion that your table talked about.
According to the group discussion, how I really felt about it is that it seems like everyone looked for justice. And no one really never met justice. Because no one really never know how justice look like. Because true justice really was never presented in certain situations. What I felt, one of the most powerless moments is when I was looking for justice. And I thought I knew justice. Come to find out that I never met justice. I've never been introduced to justice. And being in this restorative justice class, I'm actually getting a glimpse of the true identity of what justice looks like. Something that was never presented to me in the courtroom. So during my moments of being powerless, ignorant to the law, I found out that power really lies in your faith and those that's willing to help you refuel your faith whenever you feel like it's failing. That's what I get out of this group discussion.
I don't think I can top that.
My name is Anthony Latham. I'm from Group 2 with my colleague, Dominique.
Right.
And we are here to discuss restorative justice principles, or what did you?
I'm trying to think of what exactly to share from our conversation. Something that, well, we both shared examples from childhood. I realized in trying to think of a time where I felt powerless that my most visceral examples, like the times that I could feel in my body that I was powerless or helpless, were, from when I was a child, and often involved other adults or people in positions of authority that I felt were abusing their power, or that I felt unable in my position as a child to confront a situation in the way I felt that would have been just in that moment. So I don't know, I think there's a lot there, but you also talked about an example from childhood.
Well, I just describing the moment that I had with my younger brother who had his first stroke at the age of 6 years old. And it's just a moment, just being in that moment in time, being so young and, not understanding what he was going through, his mindset, and just being in the hospital and trying to find him. And when I found him, and just the pain in his eyes when I saw him, and being helpless in that moment, it takes me back to the moment when I was in that courtroom and just looking at everyone, looking at me as though I was not the person who I was raised to be, and just being so helpless that I had no words to speak because there were no words to speak. And so just when I think about those type of moments of fear, now I look at just life overall, that, like you said, about just standing by and not doing anything. When you're just, I don't know, I can't grasp the words, but just, it's just like a void of not knowing the uncertainty of what may happen next if you do nothing, or you say nothing, or you just allow something to transpire without you just, getting that, just I guess just the initiative to want to do something about it. So I can't say.
Yeah. The one thing I feel like the thing that unites the various moments in my life when I felt powerless is usually that there was some other person or something making me feel powerless. I don't know that I've ever felt inherently on my own or without anyone else around. That was a moment where I felt powerless, maybe sad or maybe something else, but in moments where I felt like someone was taking agency away from me, or in moments where I felt like I couldn't be an active bystander or say something or stand up for myself, were the moments where I felt powerless.
I'm Tars Vincent, this is Susie Chen, and we're here to discuss restorative justice. And I just really want to say it was a time when I felt most powerless, or we all discussed it, and it was when dealing with the court system and being incarcerated for the first time. And you're not able to fight for yourself, or having somebody describe you, and not being able to really just explain people to you how you feel, what you go through in life, and how you get to this point. And the thing we want to change mostly about this system is asking corrections. And I feel like if DOC wasn't in control of the government-ran facility, that or it wasn't a business, that it would be more restoration in it. The victor and the offender, never get a chance to talk. You never get the chance to be who you are, explain your story. How do you feel about it?
Yeah. Well, I shared just related to the experiences that you all shared, that as a law student, it can feel really powerless the way that we're taught that the adversarial prosecutor, defense attorney going up against one another is really going to solve the problems that are happening in communities, and that it creates experiences where people feel powerless in the court system. And I really feel motivated about addressing problems from a restorative justice perspective, as opposed to creating situations where the only answer is taking people out of communities, because that feels really unsatisfying and doesn't actually solve many of the problems that folks are dealing with on a day-to-day or community basis. So it can feel, if you're interested in doing defense or civil rights law, it can feel powerless the way that the system is set up, just as you all shared feeling powerless in the court system. So we can collaborate, between lawyers and clients to change that.
Yeah, I'd like to thank you for coming out to and experiencing this. And I feel like restoration is needed, so I want to thank Ms. Patch for having us and starting this class and all the participants.
I'm not nervous, but my name is Derek L. Singleton, and we are here with the rest of the class of Restorative Justice and our guest today, Mel, to discuss some of the ideas and situations that we experience in life when it comes to our most powerless moment. I myself and a couple other students, we shared basically the same fear of powerlessness when we were arrested for the first time and found ourselves in a county jail. How we knew that we was in a situation that was out of our control. Mel shared a very interesting point of view, being that I've been locked up for over 2 decades. And her point of view, her moment of powerlessness, it caused me to see how much things have changed, and I'd like Mel to share that.
Basically, I was just sharing a story. I think as Black Americans in this country, a lot of the experiences where I felt powerless is really with other family members, especially male family members, when we're out and dealing with people with positions of authority who can abuse them, and you just feel like you can't really do anything about it. Really, I think it sort of stems from sort of a conversation we were talking about. James mentioned this in his story as well, just feeling that someone you care about or respect, you can't do anything to protect them sometimes, and that can be really hard, and you feel powerless in that moment because you want to make sure that they're safe, and it's just as humans relating to another human, you don't want violence to affect them, and that's something that I've come across a lot, just being back in the US and dealing with people in positions of power who can abuse that.
We really enjoyed our conversation at our table, even though we were kind of caught a little short, but that's cool. We should have had at least 7 minutes.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Courtney, and I'm with Ariel, and we will be sharing some principles from our discussion in restorative justice. Be the change that you want to see, and one of the points we discussed was powerlessness. When did we feel powerless? And you can go ahead.
So a time that I felt powerless is about 3 years ago when my brother was murdered. And being a person who is actually planning to go into the legal system and work as an attorney, realizing that I didn't have the access to information that I had hoped for to actually understand what it is that happened to my brother, what was going on in his case, or even being asked what it is that we wanted as family members. Because I think so often the criminal legal system obviously typically results to either retribution or incapacitation, and I'm not a person who believes in either, and so that would not have been what I wanted for my brother, and I don't think that's what he would have wanted. And so not even having an option of what was going to actually happen.
My moment was a loss as well when I lost my daughter. And I was in here and I had to make that phone call. I didn't never feel like, similar to Ariel, like I want revenge, and I think that was expected of me to say, you know, I want something done to this person that did that. But I just felt like everything was gone for me. Like this, I've never felt anything like that before or since then. So I can really say, for me, I think I am being the change that I want to see, because I don't want to see tit for tat, or, you know, they did this, so I'm gonna do that type of scenarios. And that'll lead to, like, one of the points of what we also discussed regarding issues or laws that we want to see changed or abolished. I think we'll agree that was life without parole in the death penalty.
Let's say that I cut myself by accident, and the cut leaves a deep gash as if I stabbed myself. And Greg sees it, and instead of getting first aid, Greg decides to stab himself in the leg. Does that sound like it would do anything for my problem? And this is far removed, it may seem disassociated, but the way that we deliver justice is to administer a harm to someone because we're harmed. And what that does is it does nothing for the harm that the person has. Like, we should be focused on healing, but instead of focusing on healing, I'm focused on fulfilling the feeling that victims need. Like, even teaching the victimizer, bringing them to an understanding of why what they did is wrong. We don't deliver justice in that manner. What we do is we cause another harm, put another harm on top of another harm, and put another harm on top of the other harm. And usually, the victimizer is usually rooted in a harm that he learned or she learned from earlier in their childhood. And it's just not, it's not working toward the problem.
I wasn't sure that I wanted to write a book. In fact, for a long time, I've been quite resistant to writing a book. I just have felt like I don't have time for something like that. But I'm increasingly concerned about this disconnect that I see in American society, where we have an image of ourselves, we have a belief about our system of justice that doesn't actually comport with the reality of our system of justice, the reality of ourselves. And a lot of that, I think, is fueled by the stories we tell ourselves that aren't real, but are easier to believe and understand. And so I decided to write this book because I am persuaded that if I can get people closer to what I see, I think if most Americans saw what I saw, they would demand change tomorrow. If they'd been in jail cells holding little children who had been sexually abused because we put them in places where they were going to be abused, I think they would demand a change. I think if they saw innocent people being wrongly convicted and almost executed, they would demand a change. If they saw the kind of bias and discrimination that I've seen, they would demand a change. And so the book is really an effort to get people closer to what I see. And I am persuaded that, I'm hopeful that in doing so, more people will take up the importance of reform in our criminal justice system.
All right. Just want to do a quick story that I heard over the radio of a time that a man walked into a church and left his phone outside. And it rained extremely loud while the preacher was preaching. So, of course, the pastor stole it. The worshipers admonished him after the church was over. His wife lectured him the whole ride home. And his friends and acquaintances, they heard about it, and they had some words for him too. They usually see him, started shaking their head in disgust. And you could see the shame and embarrassment on the guy's face. He was so humiliated from making a mistake in church that he decided, I'm not gonna go back. I don't wanna show my face there. That night though, he decided to go to a bar. He ordered himself a drink, but he was still anxious and nervous. And in his anxiousness, he knocked over the bottle. The drink splashed on the closest people to him. The bottle hit the floor and it shattered. The people that were sitting the closest to him started to go to him. And he just closed his eyes and kind of like rinsed up, preparing for either a verbal or a physical type of abuse. But instead of receiving verbal or physical abuse, they wanted to know about his well-being. They asked him, did you cut your hand? Are you okay? The janitor came and swept up the glass. The bartender said, hey, we'll give you a drink on the house. Everybody makes mistakes, don't worry about it. And all this happened, the guy received so much love that he decided that he wouldn't stop going to that bar. That's not necessarily a story about a bar or a church, but it's a story about two responses to when something goes wrong. You have a response that is one, admonishing, that is abusive. And then you have another response that fills a void, works on the deed, cleaning up the mess, dealing with the problem, seeing if something else is going on or if the person is okay. And in this, I think you can pretty much see the direction that I'm going. So I'm going to leave it up in the air and go to the next video.
And when I was your age, grandson, I wanted to be a ballerina. And I was good too, until I messed up this here leg of mine. And that was it for me. What you want to be when you grow up, baby?
When I grow up, I want to be a magician. You want to see a trick? Pick a card, any card. I'm going to close my eyes. Don't tell me what you get. It's a jack of hearts, ain't it? That's crazy. I didn't get it wrong. This morning I was watching a tutorial. It was like 45 minutes long. When I grow up, I'm going to be richer than every player on the Lakers and Clippers. 20,000 people packed in the stadium, Staples Center. I'm just painting a picture. Better life for my mom and my sister. And every night we having lobster for dinner and some ice cream cones. For all the nights we froze. And really, I wish that my daddy could do it, but that's the life he chose. Guess he ain't think his son would be worth it. Bet he don't know how much it be hurting. But I know I won't cry no more. I don't even know, sometimes I don't know if I'm gonna see the sunshine no more. But I don't know, I'm only 9 years old.
When I grow up, I just want everyone to see that I believe in something. And if I lead the world, I hope and pray to God that I'll be leaving something. I got a hole inside my heart, I'm bleeding from it. Is there hope for me? Cause I can't think of nothing. When I grow up, I just want everyone to see that I completed something.
When I grow up, I'm buying my mama a house. Cause year after year, they keep tossing us out. Tear after tear, she be calling around. But my family can't keep helping all of us out. Too young to go get a job, I got school to fall. But I feel like I'm falling right now. My cousin just made like 1,000 from kicking in houses. I'm trying to get down. Cause the only ones my age with it is in the streets. And I'm feeling like I'm living on a leash. I done seen it go from a Joe Blow to a whole 20 in a week. What I can't do is sit around and wait on everybody. Cause I know that they ain't giving it to me. Plus everything that's around me getting to the money. I ain't finna be the only boogie dummy. Where the pack at? And the Ziplocs and the caps at? I'ma get a bag when I bag that. Just front it to me, I'ma get you that bag. Do you only do cash or cash app? 5 months later, they buying my dope, but watching me close. So I gotta watch what I post. That's why I went and bought a gun before I even had bought me some clothes. Cause they was gonna try to get me gone at the perfect timing. Mama just called me, couldn't make words, but I heard her crying. I called my sister to see what was wrong, but her big head said won't pick up the phone. I called my mama back and said, can you please talk to me, cause I'm rushing home. She said, you the reason why they shot your little sister, trying to be free. I'm grown, they was looking for you. I told them leave, but they was pushing for you. Then your sister got mad, and long story short, she took a damn bullet for you. When I grow up, I'ma be a magician, cause all again is disappearing. Now my little sister, my eyes, you serious? God, I'm about to send you them nigga spirits. Feel like I'm the reason why she ain't here. I was only trying to stop from getting evicted. Feel like I ain't had no different decisions. We was brought up in a difficult system. We ain't monsters, we just miserable children. But I gotta make them feel how I'm feeling. Shoot at all of them again. Sound like I gotta go get a new engine. Tell the preacher I'll be a statistic. Tell the cops to come and send me to prison. Every time I see them again, I'm shooting. And I don't care what family member I'm hitting. Then they shot me back. Damn, guess that's how it's ending. They label us criminals. We just kids in the system.
When I grow up, I just want everyone to see that I believe in something. And if I lead the world, I hope and pray to God that I'll believe in something. I got a hole inside my heart, I'm bleeding from it. Is there hope for me? Cause I can't think of nothing. When I grow up, I just want everyone to see that I completed something.
Topping our news today is a 16-year-old gang member who opened fire in a residential neighborhood in Dayton, Ohio, tragically injuring 3, including a mother and her child. He was later killed about 2 blocks away, but this just highlights the level of gang activity that has been rising in the area as of late. In better news, 16-year-old Cody O'Brien has become the first magician to saw an amphitheater. Please show your continued support for him and continue to patronize the good in neighborhoods, and let's try and repel the bad. He truly is a magician for the people.
I want to affirm how you don't have to be embarrassed to say, I'm trying to change the world. I think we can change the world. And I have a simple little prescription. I think there are 4 things that we're going to have to think about. We're going to have to commit. We're poor and suffering and marginalized. We think we can change the world by staying just on Harvard's campus, by staying in places of power and privilege, staying just in our elected offices. If we care about injustice, if we care about inequality, if we care about poverty, if we care about disability, if we care about addiction and dependency, we're going to have to get close enough to those who are poor and excluded and neglected, addicted and dependent, to understand the nature of that problem. Second thing we're going to have to do is we're going to have to change these narratives. We have mass incarceration in America because we declared a misguided war on drugs. We said that people who are drug addicted and drug dependent are criminals. For alcoholism, we said that's a disease. And if you know somebody who's an alcoholic and you see them going to a bar, you don't think, oh, we better call the police. We have a different framework. But for addiction and dependency, we said those are criminals, and we've locked up hundreds of thousands of people. Now, I think that narrative has to change because I think what allowed us, what made us comfortable with those policy choices is what I call the politics of fear and anger. And I'm here to tell you that if we allow ourselves to be governed by fear and anger, we're going to tolerate things we're not supposed to tolerate. That's how you get comfortable with inequality. That's how you get comfortable with injustice. That's how you get comfortable abusing people in ways that are clearly indecent and wrong. You do it because you've been given a narrative of fear and anger that makes you think that that's justifiable. The third thing we're going to have to do is we're going to have to stay hopeful. You have to protect your hope quotient, your hope dynamic. Because sometimes being in spaces like this can rattle you. The faculty are brilliant, but they're trying to complicate the world for you. And sometimes when the world starts to get complicated, you lose hope that you can do the things you thought you could do. You begin to actually no longer believe that that world-changing thing you were hoping to achieve, you can achieve. And so while you are dealing with the complexity of the world, you're going to have to affirmatively work on protecting your hope. Your hope is vital to your capacity to change the world. I actually believe that hopelessness is the enemy of justice. Injustice prevails where hopelessness persists. The fourth and final thing we're going to have to do, and this is a hard one, we're going to have to do things that are uncomfortable and inconvenient. Because we do not change the world by only doing the things that are comfortable and convenient. And I hate that. Because we're humans, and humans are biologically and psychologically programmed to do what's comfortable. We like comfort. And that means that we're going to have to make a choice to do uncomfortable things, to change things. I tried to research my way out of this, I did. As a faithful alum of this university, I looked and did some research, and I tried to find an example where justice prevailed, where equality triumphed, and nobody had to do anything uncomfortable or inconvenient. Can't find any examples of that. I've learned really simple things doing my work. I believe that each of us is more than the worst thing we've ever done. I believe that for every human being. I think if someone tells a lie, they're not just a liar. I think even if you kill someone, you're not just a killer. And justice requires that we know the other things we are before we judge you.
That's our time for today. I appreciate everyone that came out, everyone that helped involved, which was everyone. I appreciate everyone. We're gonna end it here, but before we go, I wanted to ask if the interns are, if any of you had any last or final comments that you wanted to make before we get out of here. And Destry has the mic if you all would like to talk. Does everybody have any?
I just wanted to say that I think that you did a wonderful job today. You're a really brilliant facilitator, like one of the best that I've ever seen. And so I just wanted to give you your props and flowers for that. And thank you all for welcoming us into this space. And it's really been an honor to be here today. So thank you.
I want to thank everyone who's here today that participated in the class, facilitator. It was a great presentation. And I think one of the things that's really going to take away from this experience is I really see a lot of the love and support in this room. I feel like everyone here is really supporting one another, encouraging one another, joking with one another when they're, doing their testimonies through the video or just, speaking out and sharing their perspectives. And I just feel like that's so important to hold on to, and it's really admirable. And I just wanted to express that to everyone that it's something that's, I think is so important in this space, within a prison, within our communities, and then within the general broader country, as really caring about and providing support to people even if you don't know them, or if they come from completely different backgrounds than you. So, thank you.
And I'll just echo what everyone said. I really thank you all for opening this space up to us. I feel like so often now in the position that we're in, we're often expected to be kind of like the center of attention or take up most of the space in the room. And so I appreciate any moment I get to allow to sit back and allow other people to share their experiences and learn from them and realize what sort of reaffirmed the fact that we all are very similar. We do have connecting backgrounds in many ways, despite what people in the legal field will try to tell us as people who are going into law. And so I appreciate having that reminder and just being re-grounded in that.
Yeah, everyone spoke so thoughtfully, and I echo what everyone said. I hope to work with folks who are in prisons across the country, and I just feel so grateful to have gotten to share space with you all, and to connect with folks here. It's just it's funny to me how easy it is to spend an afternoon with you all. It just feels like old friends, and we've known each other for an hour and a half. And so I'm just so grateful for the space you all created and how welcoming everyone was. So echoing what everyone said, a lot of gratitude and a lot of affirmation. And I'm gonna continue being here.
Yeah, man, right.
I learned something. 2 G's.
All right.
The last time I was here were different experiences, and both were really incredible. And I'm so curious to see what you all do in the future and all the amazing things that keep coming out of this group. This seems like a really special space, and I am so interested in what you all do with what you're all learning here and what you build here in this community and the communities that you build when you leave this room. And yeah, thank you so much for letting us join twice and take up so much of your time.